Welcome to another Sunday Night Live with your host, Dexter. And this week has been pretty good. I mean, most of the time I've been just watching all the, uh, you know, not all, but some of the WAF matches, and it's been pretty good. I mean, we've got updates from the ground. With people in there. We have our in-house, some of our own athletes and staff members, just like Anna Grondin. She got silver left, and Snezana Babayeva. Congratulations to her. She absolutely dominated with a big fat gold medal. So we also have some other athletes. Sorry if I can't name all of them. I probably should have written all down. Who else do we have? We have Daniel Prokopchik. That one's another one. Jocelyn, I think, didn't she get silver? Yeah, I think she got silver. Yeah, silver left. So there's that. Silver left. Who else do we have? Shoot, I can't. Was it is Reno Masick one of them? Oh, Oleg Zok, of course. Oleg Zok got was hyper dominated. Oh, third left. Sasho, yeah, Sasho's another one. Reno, yeah, all right. I don't think I mentioned Reno Masick, yeah. So this week is just dominated with uh those that really occupied me a little bit. Yeah, so all the right comes in tomorrow, and what I told Anna. Well, I guess you were just warming up for your right. you know everybody is still eyeing at that goal, so this is gonna be good. This is gonna be good. We got a couple of upsets um as well, but that just means that there are new fresh blood who is up and coming. So we are paying a little bit more attention to see who we could invite, which is why there that's another reason why having a partnership with WAF is critical, because that they act like a feeder league. Um, oh yeah, I did see that top Paul Hutchins Jr. Yeah, I did see that match with Devin and Cody while they were in, was it Arizona over the weekend for Bills event, UAL. So that one's pretty interesting too. D- Oh, I was not aware of that. So Roy Levin just mentioned Jordan Snownev is now banned. It's now not banned from WAF anymore, so we can invite him. He's that lightweight Kings puller. That's gonna be pretty interesting. Let's see. We also, somebody asks, is December 13th confirmed for Atlantic City, New Jersey? It is like 95%. We're just negotiating a couple of things, but just like, remember how I mentioned that it was very critical for us to make sure the venue adheres to certain requirements that EVW requires, such as a generator, right? So there are things that are a little bit optional, like certain venues don't allow us to use coal sparks, but by that definition, coal sparks mean it's safe for indoors. But some people are a little bit paranoid because they don't understand the science behind that, or some don't even allow smokes. But usually, one of those you don't really don't really affect our decisions whether we go ahead with a venue or not. Someone just mentioned Gotham Arm Wrestling. Oh yeah, generate an anti-hacking team. Well, might be a little too strong, but no, too soon. But it's okay. It's all fun and games here on this Sunday Night Live. Let's see. Somebody just mentioned RN effects. Did you look at Penguin's Zero videos on and with Devin? Inviting him to an event should be a no-brainer. He is 16 male, subs. I actually did not. I did not. Maybe I did, but that that handle Penguin Zero sounds familiar. So I'm gonna look into that. Let's see. I think success comes from a strong American audience. I can help EVW use to recruit and organize for Mid-Atlantic region. We will talk sometimes in the future. Message me on Facebook or something, um, and let's talk more. Let's definitely talk more. I mean, we are always looking for those promotional partners. We definitely need Jordan Sonav. Notepad. Got that. Jordan Sonav. He's too good to not be one of the best arm wrestlings in the best arm wrestling league in the world. One of the best in his weight class. Oh, what's up, Houdini? Okay, so now in terms of opponents, I do have ideas on who's going to be Hermes Nick's opponent, but with everything else, we are still a promotional type company. So what that is we gotta keep some secrets for ourselves, right? And we need to keep the hype going. Plus, we don't want it to kind of muddle our Swiss event a little bit. So there's that. And it's again not confirmed until probably about Swiss event time, right? So maybe here's the one of the announcements for the week, right? Which you will see soon, is that Hermes Gasparini has also we've invited and he has accepted to come to the Swiss Open as a special guest for EVW 20. So what this is I think pretty cool because once again we have some of the top heavy super weights all under the same roof. Now they may not all be competing, but they're all together. So we'll take the time to get everybody in and kind of discussed what the future is for the whole next year because we got to start planning out okay when this so and so will compete here and then what's happening in the next few months, and we want to structure everything so everybody has a clear understanding of what's sort of a storyline a little bit, right? Everybody wants to see Devin Vitali, Lavon polling, Hermes polling. So that's going to be all kind of finalized when we are all together under the same room. We'll sit together, brainstorm it out, and then we'll know what the plan is for the next year. So, yeah. So, if you guys haven't bought tickets to Switzerland, I say do so. Tickets, a round trip ticket from somewhere closer to the West Coast like ourselves, like in the mountain place. It's about $600. You can get a round trip for $600. Do it. It's an event you don't want to miss. What's up, Benji? Oh man, let's see. Let's see. I have seen that Brian Shaw I Show Speed collab. Yeah, that was insane. That was insane. I was watching it with my family, and they were like, "Who's this goofy guy who with all the like goofy eyes and everything while he was pulling?" And I Show Speed is such an athlete. He's probably the fastest non-athlete, not non-pro athlete influencer in history. He's absolutely he's absolutely like hyper talented. That would be a pretty good collab. So let me work on that. Let's see what I can do. But we do actually have a collab offer this week. It's a little bit weird, but in history of e-gaming, right? There is a team, a professional uh, esports gaming team called OG. Okay, heavily sponsored by Red Bull, and they were the first in history to win a competition. Oh, Dota 2 competition called the International. They won it back to back, and the prize money for the competition was around I think along the lines of like $40 million. Okay, and that team, with their coach. So there was a guy named Sebastian. Seb. He won. He's really good motivator, right? He has such a really high IQ as well, but more importantly, he really knows how to, like, if he was an arm wrestling cornerman, he's perfect. The way he talks, the way he motivates the team is out of the world. Anyway, uh, he connected with me, and he was like, "Wow, I did not know that there are so many, uh, arm wrestlers who are into Dota." So he's open to a collaboration and asked me what do I have, and I think it'd be just cool just to meet up with him. And it's one of those I wanted to show him how somebody like me who sits behind the desk all day working on computer stuff can actually train for arm wrestling. A little bit of kind of workout while at the desk. It's kind of funny, but you know. Anyway, that's another very big influencer in a different niche whatsoever that wants to do a collab. And I did mention we had additional talks with the Chael Sonnen team. They are very excited. Um, Matter of fact, their kids are also excited about arm wrestling. So maybe that already really helps push things along. So that one's almost there. They want us to they got some ideas, and they want to confirm with us sometime, I think within the next 2 days. So oh yep, this is another thing that I need to update. When will somebody ask? Hyperborean foreskin. When will we show the rankings of each weight class on the website? So it's being worked on. It's being worked on. There are several questions that we are still wondering where that is, and we are getting a little bit of feedback. Now, let me give you all an update on the rankings. Okay. Initially, I remember about maybe 2 weeks back, I gave sort of like we were working on a methodological, very systematic way of identifying and giving uh, sort of score or a point system, well, which is an internal number that determines an athlete's ranking, right? Okay, if A beats B, then A will naturally go over B. Okay. But there's also some arguments that how much higher is it directly over, and you know, and how much does B drop, that kind of thing, right? So there's all these chain that we have, uh, like if A beats B really, really badly, so that should be a clear overtake. But if A beats B, but barely, then maybe that, but C beats A at one point, like really terrible. So then it kind of moves things in a way where now how do we put like an actual score? How do we try to figure out which how much rankings does this athlete drop to, right? So you're trying to do all these kind of like a very systematic thing that's transparent. So as soon as a match happens and the results is there on the table, everybody at home and us should have come up with the exact same ranks, right? Because it's all transparent and the methods all there. Just like say chess, right? Because the system they use is an adjusted elo. So as soon as a match happens, they do the comparison. Boom, they know what the new update is going to be. But, 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 after some extended discussion, that system might be a little bit tricky. Okay. I'll give you an example. In you know, sometimes in our sport, people troll on stage, or they just mess around a little bit, or they foul out. Okay. Now, when we are looking in terms of rankings in strength, okay, I'm so much like 1,000 times weaker than Devin Larrett. 1,000 times, 100,000 times, whatever. Okay. But I could technically, right? Technically, I could get a couple points off him. Why? If he fouls, you know, as a he starts too quick, right? He twitches too early. So foul starts, and I win a point. Or as soon as he goes, he elbows fouls, whatever. So I don't have to do very much to get points. Now, compared to his other time where he's a little bit calmer, no problems, and then he flash pins some other athlete 3 times in a row. So does that mean I'm better than the guy he flash pins 3 times? I mean, initial knee-jerk reaction is a yes, but sometimes arm wrestling score does not really dictate exactly what the true strength is of a person. And that's just one example of one of the special cases that the system won't be able to correct that, which is why we looked into other sports like, say, UFC or NFL. They have what they call, I think, uh, some poll, right? They have a coaches poll, and they also have like uh, the media poll. So ultimately, we revert everything back, and we kind of say, okay, well, maybe the poll should be done uh, by we could have two different kind of systems, right? Obviously, the fans will do a whole bunch of different polls themselves, which we kind of encourage too. I mean, that's a fun little thing. Such as example, I think some people they will do their own pound for pound ranking. So lately, it was Michael Todd that has his own. Well, shout out to Michael. And I think maybe a month back, it was Henry who released his pound for pound posters. That generated a lot of talk and discussion among the community, whether how accurate that is, how do they agree and disagree. But that's, I think, pretty cool, right? We will have our own rankings that we will use to determine, obviously the world title matches and how we pair people up. So that's why we kind of shake things around a little bit, but hopefully that would be soon. I know I tried, and well, I did mention that I'll try to have it in this week, but don't blame me that well, hopefully you guys don't treat it too harshly that I failed to do it this weekend. By this weekend, I'm making notes to keep pushing that again. Um, So Benji just mentioned that we need a Legends match or a top 10 lightweight for Fisher. Okay, this is another thing that I want to announce, and I want to not really announce, but more reiterate. And maybe the public here can give me a good feedback on how to conduct so. So Robert, you know, approached me. Matter of fact, it was actually last week that he mentioned. He says, "Hey, you know what? I really like how we are moving forward with our company, where we have more fan interactions in a way where we are a little bit more open to suggestions." Okay. Now, suggestions for matches. Well, it all started, I think, with Ayane Takenaka. It was just a couple of weeks of bam, 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 right? Bunch of uh, you know, Ayane, invite Ayane, talk to Ayane, whatever. And I think that's what we kind of need. Okay. We will need to hear from the fans what matches do they want to see, because ultimately you guys are the one who is kind of taking, you know, giving us a lot of uh ultimately you guys are our customers, right? Because I assume most of you guys are supporting us, either watching our YouTube or our pay-per-views. So you guys are absolutely critical to tell us what you want to see, what matches you want to see. So I'm trying to think of a platform where all you fans out there find a way to communicate with us and that I can see it, and so it doesn't get muddled. So until I figure out a best system, I'd say two things. One is leave comments after the live stream. So don't do it during the live stream as much. Well, or you could repeat it during the you could repeat that during the live stream, and also after the live stream has ended on the YouTube page, so that our matchmaking team, including myself, you know, we will get to see it and we'll take note of the frequency. Example, right? So right now Benji's pushing for Alan Fisher uh pretty hard. But if it's only Benji, then it might be a little bit okay. Maybe not quite as, notable, or but if it's we start seeing a big pattern of, like, well, this quite a numbers that's calling for Alan to pull, then perhaps, you see what I'm saying? Perhaps. So I would say do it on this YouTube channel after the event. Another one that I check pretty often is EVW. Also has its own Reddit channel. Okay, let me see. Let me pull that up. So EVW has a Reddit channel. Maybe let me add that in right now. It's let me log in. I'm going to share this, and this one would be a little bit critical because I know there is slash arm wrestling, which is great, which is fine, but I'm actually thinking more along the lines of, for that specific task of giving me ideas and communicating with me, let's use EVW Sports. So if you go to Reddit here, let me just paste it on the, the chat here. Uh, that would be quite helpful to communicate with me and the team. So let's do Reddit. But I think I would I'm going to think of the best way for you guys to communicate. But for now, just tell us on YouTube. Not so much comments on Instagram, because that kind of gets hidden pretty fast. Uh, but for sure, YouTube this video on our Sunday videos, plus Reddit for now. So that'd be cool, right? So let's do that. So Benji, maybe what you need to do is go around promoting on the community to. I wouldn't use the word pressure, because we won't be pressured into doing a dumb match, but maybe we will. I don't know. Maybe if a ton of people wants to see me versus somebody, well, that's not gonna happen, right? No matter how much pressure that's gonna happen, that's not gonna happen, because I'm too weak. I'll probably break my arm just holding some arm wrestler's grip. So point being is, all right, let's we are open to suggestions on how the matchmaking should go in the future. And don't be the only thing I would just say, don't be too uh sensitive if we don't pick up that match. So that's all I'll say. Yes, there is a summit in Switzerland. Uh, that's quality, my friend. Gotta say it in that term, right? All top three right hand in Switzerland as guests. Oh yeah, we gotta do it. I mean, uh, that's Switzerland's gonna be fire. It's gonna be fire. I don't know. I could check. Will there be snowboarding that time of year in Switzerland? I don't know what Chat GPT says, but I think that there should be. It's November. Hi Ryan, that's awesome. RN effect. Sorry, I'm a little bit behind with all the announcements, and you know, could bring him to an event like WWE that keep while keeping integrity of force. Okay, so I'm guessing you're talking about iShow Speed. Yeah, that's possible. I mean, there's quite a few. Um, that is there's definitely quite a few um ideas that we have. What do you guys think of Mr. Beast? I know there's a little bit of controversial thing that's happening right now, but so Mr. Beast is one of them. So I'm just trying to see what levels I can hit, anything that we can do to kind of blow up the arm wrestling. I mean, everybody saw last week's trajectory, right? Pretty soon we are on the verge of overtaking the strongman, right? So maybe what's next? Maybe it's MMA. I think we've already toppled a few, and for sure CrossFit's gone. So we already beat CrossFit. Um, but yeah, if you guys have any others that I might not be aware of, let me know which influencer you need me to reach out to, and if you need to and if it's obviously of somebody of you know a decent reputation. Don't give me some guy who just came out from prison for something terrible. Maybe not. But for everybody else, yeah, hit them up on my behalf. And once you get a little bit of traction, let me know. I would be super happy to take on that collaboration communication. But not only that, sponsors. We would love more sponsors as well. So if you got any ideas who would be great sponsors, that's also great enough, good enough. So put it down on the comments. I would love to read those. I try to check a lot of the messages after a video for about 48 to 72 hours, and then kind of slowly move on from that. But yeah. Oh, did I set my podcast to be 2 hours from now? Oh, okay. Well, that's odd, but wasn't my intention. Yeah, I usually try to keep it around the same time, either 9 to 9:30 Eastern time. But uh, I might have accidentally clicked it wrong. Sorry. Uh, oh yeah, best four arm wrestlers versus an OG would be a cool video. That would be a pretty good video. Let's see what like a couple of guys, Tobias, uh, Tobias. Of one of the most famous gamers in the world. It's his name is Thompson. Uh, he was in arm wrestling can also hear this story because this story is pretty cool. At least to me, it is. There was this core team of OG, and always co-led by two guys, right? And after several years of partnerships and everything, they were always like almost there kind of team. They were almost there, like barely making it. I think his name is was it Fly and No Tail, and just before, so they qualified for the main event. Well, yeah, the main event for a competition called the tournament, and it's massive. It's the biggest prize money in esports gaming. 30-40 million dollars uh, per event, right? And just on the eve of everything, his co-partner got invited to be part of another bigger name team. So Fly left, leaving, and he left with like two other guys or something. And so that team, even though they have an invite, they now have a big, they have a roster of five that needs to be filled. So they invited their old buddy back, Anna, who's been kind of retired. He's a young little kid, but wasn't really interested in professional gaming anymore. He got called back, and then they had like their key guy, a mid laner. I know I'm a little getting sidetracked, but a mid laner who nobody and they needed one, but all the best has been taken. So what they did was they went they there was the community, right? The community kind of told them, hey, check out this guy. His name is Tobias Thompson. Okay. So they checked him out. They saw this random dude. Okay. Now, remember, this is like EVW type level event, right? 40 million purse. And they were going to gamble on a guy that they have never seen on a professional level. Okay. Never on a professional level. They just saw this guy's random YouTube video, and then they checked him out, and he was always doing something weird. Example, right? In arm wrestling equivalent, most people go top roll, hook, right? Maybe a king's move, and this guy was doing something hyper and unnatural. Okay. In the game, he was doing something always really weird that nobody could really comprehend what he was doing. But he was pretty effective. But because he's always doing unorthodox stuff, no team touched him. But he was just happy in his mom's basement playing games, right? They invited him. He ended up being MVP of the whole tournament at the end of the day, and they won $40 million. Well, not the whole 40 million, part of the $40 million. So by that same regard, right? Learning from all these kind of stories that I listen out there. That's why it's so critical to don't think, and we cannot be absolutely complacent that thinking that, we EVW has the best athletes and we'll only be cycling around the same few athletes that we have. That's not happening. We got to always keep our ear on the ground, listening to the fans. We have to listen and you have to watch, tournaments like WAF to identify who are pretty good new up and comers, right? So that's kind of how we want to go about doing things, and we want to see if we can you know uh we want to see how we can be close to you guys without being too close to you guys. And the reason why I say don't want to be too close to you guys, because at some point, right, if we're too close like buddies, and if we listen to everything the populace says, then we could get into trouble. And I'll give you an example. There are certain things that only internally we would know, right? Like pay-per-view numbers. Uh, you know, those are one. So we actually have a sense of which athlete is drawing how much pay-per-view crowd. Okay. There is actually an interesting fact that I'm not sure if many of you know, but on event night, some of events 3-4 hours long, usually about 4 hours ish, right? More about, I would say, not quite half, but maybe 40% of our pay-per-view buys happen, maybe more than 40% happens after the event starts. So we can see the progression of pay-per-views, the pay-per-view buys. That's one metric, but it's very loose. But we can also check on certain things like, say, our YouTube videos. On the pre-match and post-match interviews, we can see how many views. Kind of gives us a sense of which athletes are, given a lot of attention, right? So, what are the few things that I would like to also try to push, because now there is a very high inequality in people paying a lot of attention to the super heavyweights. Nothing wrong with that, right? But I want those viewerships who are watching a lot of the super heavyweight videos to also care about the lighter weight categories, and also the left hands. Both hands would be the same, but the bigger one is gender. I think just like Dana White making the initial mistake, right? I think in the early days of UFC, he says nobody's gonna care about women's sports, right? Nobody's gonna care about women's sports. Uh, and but guess what? Ronda Rousey was up there, right? So that's kind of the same understanding. I want to have the same eyeballs. I'm not saying getting more, and it's not a zero sum game where if they care about the lightweight guys, they won't care about the super heavyweights. I'm not saying that. I'm saying I want all the fans who are caring about the superiors to also care about the lighter weight guys, and both hands, both genders. That's what I'm trying to do. But so you know, yeah. So anyway, back to the point. We cannot be too close because then it might seem that it's a very highly democratic run kind of company, and sometimes that could be there's a lot of issues with that, right? Because everybody has his own opinion, and at some point, opinions will differ. So I just hope people don't feel like they're getting screwed one way or the other. So yeah, Houdini Sports says we definitely need to get our armors doing some fun gaming content. Yeah, actually, Devin and I we were supposed to hit up an arcade uh, while we were in Colorado, but timing just didn't match because I wanted. Uh, we were at a Diesel Brothers video, and we event, and they had like a Mortal Kombat arcade cabinet, right? So I was just playing with Devin, and I'm sure you guys heard this story, and I got my butt kicked, and Devin turns to me and says, "Well, Dexter, I didn't really, I didn't really go to school, right? I kind of skipped a lot of school." So it's like insinuating that he skips school to go to the arcade. So I just wanted to go, okay, well, Devin, let's go through a racing game. All right, then let's go through a combat game, Street Fighter or something, and then we'll go through maybe you know what's that game called where it's the soft puck thing. I can't even think of the game right now. So we'll go through and see which Dexter 1 and Devon 0 and Devon 2 and Devon. So I thought it would just be a fun little content to see how we have a lot of athletes that have really, really diverse hobbies outside of arm wrestling. I mean, early this week, I did a video on with Dave Chafee. If you guys haven't watched it, you guys have to absolutely watch it. That guy, you know, during the event, he's kind of quiet. The event week, he usually hangs out with his wife, and sometimes I think he might have brought his kid there before. I think was it in Arlington. Um, was it Arlington? But so don't really get to talk to him all that much. He's pleasant, just high five, hi and bye. But this time I really got to talk to him, and he kind of shared quite a lot of interesting things. Like he's big into his PS5 and the games he plays, and how much time he spends. Uh, so I don't know. I suggest everybody check that out. But that podcast is very, 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 very insightful in to me. In he told us what he does for work, and that's I'm not going to spoil it, but you guys got to watch it. Will you ever try to bring arm wrestling to some schools? I know the principal promoter in my country tried very hard and actually succeeded in some schools. RN, in fact, where are you from? Sorry, I'm a little bit behind, but where are you from? I'd like to discuss that. I know they do quite a bit where Ontario, where uh Devon lives. I know they do quite a bit for school there. Over here, it's going to be a little bit tricky because it's county by county. I mean, oh, sorry, school districts. So there'll be multiple school districts that we have to talk to. Right now, we are short in manpower, so we don't quite have that capability to do so. But I mean, I would urge all local clubs out there across the whole world to reach out to their local school to see how you could, bring in the new generation and get them excited over arm wrestling. Because I guarantee you that, at least when I was growing up, arm wrestling was, a common thing. Arm wrestling was a common thing. I don't know if you guys know about this story about the pen, and so happened I was holding a pen, right? My first ever encounter in arm wrestling was, well, not first ever, but one of arm wrestling really hit me pretty dang hard. I think I was maybe like 14 years old or so. So in Asia, we have this thing. It's called tutoring classes and everything. I don't know if you guys know, but like Kumon or like Hans. What was that? Huntington Learning or whatever. It's one of the, you would go to this school after school, okay, after your regular, you know, 8 to 3 kind of school, right? So maybe it's you go there after dinner at 6 p.m. and you study there a couple hours, right? And so to reinforce what you missed at school. So sometimes the teacher will give us homework and additional work to do in class, and the students naturally goof off, right? W- w- Uh, what I so one of the things was sometimes the older kids that were held back in school got so we would be in the same age group and well, we would be the same classes even though they were a little older. So I remember there was this kid, he was just smashing everybody in in class. And obviously I'm not gonna, I gotta get in on the action, right? And but there was one real big thing. Okay, there was a penalty for losing. So instead of a pin pad, they had a pen as the pin pad. Okay, so with this pen, they would and how you would declare a loser is not uh is not just touching the pen. You got to put enough pressure on the pen so it would click it. Well, I can't even do this one, but so even when you lose, okay, he has to pin you and push it all the way till this clickable pen, this retractable pen retracts forcefully. Okay. Fortunately, the quality of the pen wasn't that great, but today I could still see that briefly, that scar. The scar has mostly gone away, but I can still briefly see where that scar is because I lost obviously to this older kid. So um that was my small PTSD story on arm wrestling. But yeah, so I know arm wrestling can absolutely start at a very young age. Never really seen anybody broke their arm at a very amateurish level, right? So because I think in an amateur level, at the high school level, everybody's just doing side pressures without in having being in the break arm position. But oh yeah, pics, thanks. Hit that like button. Okay, yeah. So you guys probably just came in later. Wakar Khan asked if Vitali defeats Jerry, will he face Levon next? So earlier I mentioned I don't want to really leaked out too many future matches. Uh, but this one is kind of known. After the bout in with Michael Todd, yes, Vitali is slated to face Levon. But whether it's next, I'm not 1,000% sure because we will be having that super heavyweight right summit in Switzerland to confirm all the timelines for all the matches. Gotham Arm Wrestling says ELO works only if you have, well, he didn't say only, but ELO works if you have enough data and participants. Uh, it's kind of a weird thing about ELO as well. I mean, it does has its usage, but okay, think about it this way, right? All right, think about it this way. We've been doing a lot of say East versus West has been around. That's for 4 years, so we have a lot of ELO numbers going around and everything. Okay, but then there is this new 19-year-old kid that beats our reigning world champion. Okay, now because he's fresh, now he did get a big ELO bump from having very low to the world champion, but this person's ELO score would be still very, very low. Okay. So he will still be ranked way low, even though this person beat. Now, for everybody who doesn't know how ELO works, okay, say every event would be given a kind of a uh, importance level. Okay. Example, if this person is at a EVW example, a EVW main event, and this is a 128 point event, that's really important. So theoretically, now correct me if I'm wrong. Maybe it's been a while since I actually read up on ELO. And I actually participated. I was ranked pretty high in one of the. Uh, I was like ranked number 1 in state or something for my own niche of thing. But if it's a 128 point event, assuming both person has the same elo ranking point, elo point, right? Say 1500, I'm 1500, you're 1500. If I compete with you, the winner will get 64 points, half of the 128, and the other person will lose 64 points. Okay. Now, assuming one person is much higher, right? 1700, and the other person at 1300. Now, if the 1700 guy beats the 1300 point guy, instead of 64, he will get less than 64. He'll maybe get 32. Okay. Because he's favored to win. So he'll get very little. And the other person who's favored to lose wins. If he wins, right, he will not get 62. He will get way more than 60. Sorry, 64. He'll get 96. Okay. So it's a very unfair thing because he's favored to lose, but if he does win, it kind of propels him higher, right? And now let's go something crazy. Somebody has 3,000 and one person has 500. Okay. It'll be as bad as if this guy wins, he has 127 points. Okay. He'll get 127 points. And the other guy, if he wins, he only gets 1 point. Or he loses 127 points. Right. So it's that big. That's how kind of ELO works. So that's why if somebody who's just barely started and they beat the champion, and the champion has 3,000 points with the same example, that person will earn a lot of points, but they will still be bottom at the barrel. But is that a true reflective of somebody's strength in power rankings? I don't know if that's the case, right? In arm wrestling, I think in arm wrestling it works a little different. Like you just need to be a few percent more, a few percent stronger than another opponent, and you would smash the person 3-0. Which is why I think I don't know what the stat is, but it feels like it's. I think at one point it was about 70%. Okay, 70% of all matches ends with one person obtaining 0 points. Right. I think that there's that. That's why sometimes most people would look at our events and some of our matches and say, "Oh, it's not that close." I'm like, it's a lot closer than you think. In arm wrestling, it's a lot closer than you think. At least based on numbers. Um, let's see. Oh, I don't know what that one would be mentioning. Um, Last week I asked about Jordan and Svirtan, but Jordan placed second at WAF in both arms, so he's cleared. Now to see when Svirtan will be, if ever. Keep talking about it. You are, there has been quite a Svirtan. Oh no, Svirtan. Okay, I just made a note there. But yeah, so um, you guys are not the first to talk about. Matter of fact, we have some of our own athletes that reached out to me, informing them of these guys as well. So that would be a super interesting one. Oh, YF. Hi, Dexter. I'm a US lawyer who's a big fan of arm wrestling and EVW. I'm also a native Russian speaker. Would love to chat about working together. What is the best email for me to contact you? My email is Dexter, DEXTER, at evwsports.com. So, yeah, hit me up. Happy to get connected. I mean, right now we still operate on a lot of volunteer type work, especially during our events. So if you guys want to volunteer at our events, add at the merch table or even securities, most of the time we start moving, having security like ticketing and whatnot being supplemented by actual in-person security, because we found that ultimately arm wrestlers are arm wrestlers, and if something's going down on a table, uh, security would be a bit lax during that brief window. So we don't really fully blame them because that's what that's understandable. Yeah. Let's see. Sonev and Masick and Reno Masick left. Okay. Again, I don't want to keep writing everything down. Lage, would you mind also just posting on our on the comment section so that way I can see it later? Yes, all Sims. That is correct. I think arm wrestling is a clear cut in its ability to determine a winner, and I think also that's one component in terms of power rank in rankings, is that we don't always get very much luck involved. So having a repeatable, uh, you know, having a repeatable game, example like a match, right? You know how they say best out of 7, best out of 5. In arm wrestling, at least in my opinion, from my observation, that even if you add a lot more, um, if you add a lot more matches, sorry, not you add a lot more rounds to a match, it may or may the chances that it changes and the or changes the winner is very very low. Okay, very very low. I'll give you an example. So most example. So say Levon and Urbis, it's another clear cut thing, right? Levon clearly was a stronger man at the table that day against Hermes, and they did it an extra round just to really determine did anything change. Now I know that certain times endurance is a factor at some point, but well, this I mean, if you listen to the podcast with Dave Shafee and I a couple of days ago, you also hear that there are times where he had a comp he had an event with another guy, left and right hand, I think arm wars or something. No, not arm wars. I can't remember the name. I'm trying to think of the name right now, but it's one where somebody needs to win in both hands, and always won right and his opponent always won left, and he said that if that were to still keep going, I think he had over 50 pulls on his right alone, right, with the same guy on that night. And he says if the organizers did not stop the event, they could have still be pulling till today. Right. So whereas if you see other sports, right, even chess sometimes, there is a slight luck factor. Okay. Luck factor meaning you're gambling on something. Arm wrestling does have that, right? You're gambling that I'm gonna go in and start into a hook first. Hopefully you confuse the guy or something. But a lot of other times where information is completely known, um, and things are moving at a much faster pace with more things happening, then there is a kind of a luck factor involved. Okay. That's why some of the best, most popular games in the world always involve some level of an ability for the player to blame their loss on luck. So there is this guy, his name is Richard Garfield, if you know him. He's the creator and founder of Magic the Gathering. And that's exactly, one of his theories. He says, okay, we need to always incorporate luck. Well, he's talking about card games, right? If you can incorporate luck, then the lousier player, when he loses, he will blame it on luck and continue playing. So that it's such an interesting take on things, and he absolutely nailed it. So I have not Kevin Liu. So Kevin Liu asks, "Hi Dexter, have you considered implementing arm wrestling betting through event markets such as Kalshi and Poly Market?" Uh, so I have not. We have been talking to. So earlier this week, I had a meeting with a signal company, and they had concerns. And one of their main concern is, well, sorry, there was a couple of concerns, but I can share with you some of the concerns. Some of the concerns are the frequency of matches. They just think that right now we have way too little events, and so we'll be fixing that shortly. The other one is a match fixing, right? Even as niche of how small our sport is, I'm sure there are match fixing happening, right? Um, so so the being a signal company, they ask us how can we ensure that match fixing does not occur in our sport. So I'd like to hear, put down a comment. How do you think I can kind of fix that? Challenge flag EV20. Yes, that is a challenge flag. So back in Colorado, we didn't just make that decision on a whim. Robert actually sent out a message to all the athletes, even the Europeans who were not participating at the event, sent it all to them, and nobody had an issue with that. So this is what I like on several, a lot of our athletes. A lot of the athletes simply say, "Look, Dexter, well, me, like, look, EVW. I know, we don't really care what the rules are in a way. They care more if the rules are clear, and then they work with the rules." That's actually most of the athlete sentiment, if not all the athlete sentiment. Is I'll prefer it this way, but if the rules are this way, I'm still okay with it. I'll still compete with it, and but just make the rules known. Uh, so there's that. Yes, you are correct. There, like my chat today even was blowing up with, with Snezana on boots on the ground. That is, oh, I just saw this. Oh, I just saw that. We got to consider this athlete. We got to consider that athlete. So, yes, Houdini Sports. Yes, like the video review system. Yes, that is happening with the third refs always watching the screen. Hmm. Let's see. Let me scroll down. Sorry, I'm at like 30 minutes behind on my messages. I apologize. Really apologize. Um, let's see. I'm real behind. Let's see. I'm scrolling super fast, so I'm gonna be skipping quite a little bit of things. I'm seeing. I'm at 30 minutes behind. Oh, picks. Okay, so I guess you were watching Dave Shafee's podcast. Oh, Shaq. Yes, that is a good one. I'm gonna put down Shaq. I gotta reach out to him. Shaq would be a great one. Devin said that when he pulled Shaq on ESPN, he says he's the most gifted non-arm wrestling athlete he has ever pulled. So Shaq would be a good one, but that was several years ago. Several years ago, so I'm not quite sure. Let's see. Celebrity matches are great for exposure. I'm all for them, but I would pay more to see Samusha know a lot more than anyone else. Okay. Uh okay, I don't want to write this down now, but Roy, could you put a comment down later after the live stream's over so I get to watch that? So I get to note those down as well. Because I know Robert wants me to collect all these data, bring it back to the matchmaking group, and then they can like dissect that a little bit and see what are the chances that would happen. Charlie, Penguins 0. Okay, this I have to go check out. Penguins 0. I'm gonna check him out. Good. Yeah. Happy to always, what I think our industry really needs is like more and more content. More and more content. That's how a reach gets out. And I think that's actually quite core. Quite core in a growing community is they have also more content creators. Let's see. Jeffrey Tall. Well, next thing is that you have so many different arm wrestling groups that are trying to get sponsors. That's going to be really hard. It needs to be narrowed down. Okay, it needs to be more organized. True, true, um, true. So one of the things that internally we also discussed that ideally at some point when we start growing and having more partners, more EVW event partners, that way we are able to connect some of our main sponsors. So if somebody's sponsoring all our events, we could also say, hey, we have a small event on the side. Instead of paying full price for your regular sponsorship, because this is just a smaller event, maybe you want to give a small fraction of sponsorship money to them, and they might be okay. So we can also help out this the other the other leagues. You see what I'm saying? So that's kind of where we're thinking. Oh, Chris Hemsworth. Yeah, Chris actually did a fun little pull with Levon while they were shooting. So that was pretty fun. If you guys have not seen it yet, check this out. Hold on. Let me do this right now, because that is a super fun video. Let me click that, share screen, Chrome tab here. Hold on, I'm not gonna make the same mistake as I did last week. Levon and Chris Hemsworth. If you guys, yeah, there we go. See this? Oh. Not gonna lie,
Great.
Chris actually pulled Levon to him. So I guess he's no slouch either. So that's a pretty good one. All right. Jimmy Fallon's kind of a different talking point, so I'll skip that. But yeah, a late night show, that would be really good. Late night show. That's a pretty good one. I like that. Oh, hi. All right. So Mr. Peanut asked a really good question. What value does EVW give sponsors? How is EVW going to help my company meet more customers, make more sales, make more contacts? Why should anybody sponsor your company? How can I'm guessing it's an error, but it's EVW increase my business? I think the biggest one is being associated with with anything. It's more of a branding thing. Okay. Trying to do a direct ROI from a event sponsorship is probably not not always the case, right? Example, if you go on to see Red Bull, right? So there's a lot of Red Bull events, like a mountain biking going down some crazy narrow, uh, narrow cliff. Does that immediately wants you to, you know, get off the seat and go buy a Red Bull on the spot? And that's probably unlikely, right? But what that does is the next time you go to 7-Eleven and you're picking out a caffeinated beverage and you see a Red Bull there, you're like, maybe I should go get a Red Bull, right? It's a lot of that, like a lot of branding, a lot of like it's just strengthening the brand, being associated to EVW. Now I know we are not much, in the sporting world, but we at least we are uh, you know, a decent player in a very niche sport for now in arm wrestling. But here's what one of our sponsors have to say, right? Goldstar. He says that, look, I'm thinking big picture. Okay, I'm thinking big picture. Uh, he's thinking big picture in a sense where one day it's only a matter of time, if everybody here can agree. It's only a matter of time that EVW's or arm wrestling will become legendary status. It's going to go mainstream. And guess what? Everybody's going to go back in time and watch older videos, you know, say Levon and Devin videos. And guess what they'll see? They'll see the old sponsors. So there'll be a lot of replayability on our videos. So keep that in mind. Long-term values. Um, oh, we have all the way from Singapore. Welcome, welcome. And guys, if you guys are in Singapore, go check out the first ever arm wrestling gym in Singapore. I'm actually embarrassed that I don't think we have an arm wrestling specific gym here locally here as well, where I live. So, well, go check them out. They had just had the grand opening this week, and yeah, it's still Sunday here, but it was last weekend for them. But yeah, it's I bet Greg Yo is just living the dream right now, living the dream, living the dream. Let's see. I do blame a lot of these comments not getting to Dexter due to moderate have their own opinion on who can ask question and who don't if you offend one of them also. Um I I don't know if okay, so I know the live stream if you don't think if you think that the moderators are moderating your questions, okay? Uh I I know the moderators, they were handpicked by me. I don't think they would moderate any suggestions. But I do think that if you really want to reach out, okay, so just everybody knows, if you don't think it's getting reached to me here on YouTube, then go on Reddit because it's a different set of moderators on Reddit than on YouTube. So that's just an idea there. Um, yeah. Okay. So now I'm still 30 minutes behind, and this is exactly what as viewership matures, I believe more and more eyes will turn to lighter weight classes. That's one. Let's see. Oh, okay, here. Grip and focus. I'll wrap my Mercedes in EVW. Interested? Well, it depends. You know. Okay, you know what? If you're serious about that, I can have my team do the design for you. Right? So send me an email and I'll send you the design files. You just need to tell me what model. Yeah. That's how serious I am. We also have some people asking tattoos. Well, I don't really don't really have tattoos myself. So, but there's one question I've seen. If I tattoo East versus West, do I get to enter our events for free? I don't have to think a little bit about that one. Sir Bagel says, my kid just entered freshman year. That would be interesting if I could get something set up with his school and I have tables and host practice every other week. Not sure why I've never considered. Yes, yes. So do your part as part of in our community and spread the word in your kids' local school. That would be awesome. School Ladyboy Super Chat. Lasers are the future, Dexter. We need them overhead for center and for pin pads. Get back to me. Honestly, I don't think that's a bad idea. I think it's just a little bit more about the execution. The execution is going to be a little bit challenging. I just don't want to try too much new things so quickly and then only to have them backfire. But I don't think having technology is necessarily a bad thing. So definitely I will consider that when the time comes. Let's see. I've sent Dexter videos and pics of what I think is the best way forward for the sport. I don't really have anything in the game. Oh, okay. So I do know who you are. Yes, you have sent it to me. I think having those, level lasers shown down on the or even on the laser on the planes and everything. I think they're okay, but I think it would be kind of weird on screen and everything. But you also need to realize that, say, like it's Switzerland, right? During the morning session, morning of Saturday, we will actually still be having, I think, the Masters tournament of the Swiss Open. Okay, so we only have a few hours to put the whole staging together for the main event. and then to worry about one more thing that they need to calibrate and ensure that it's correctly hoist above our heads, that's another headache to have, right? And also to have something directly over the head, you need to have the whole brackets and frames all need to be built, and those costs a lot of money. So that's why I'm saying it takes a lot more planning, but and the execution has to be flawless. Else we could spend thousands of dollars just to waste it away. So so I'm not saying no. I'm just saying maybe not yet, not yet. Um, let's see. I'm gonna I'm gonna try to speed things up. Oh, here's our in-house troll from UK, Diabolical Billy. Oi, Dexter, Q&A ain't self-help. It's a cult starter kit. Plays the nice bloke, draws fans in like Charles Bloody Manson, then schemes behind the mic like Dexter's Laboratory, wolves in sheep clothing with a sales pitch. Well, I mean, if you got anything to share, Billy, send them my way. Gonna try to help answer some questions. Let's see. Wonder Bucket says, "Wait, Devin isn't the only arm wrestler who wants a rule change." Say what? It's not just rules, but sometimes it's actually how everything is on stage. Um, for instance, how many corner persons should one have? That's also currently we kind of limit it to two, right? But someone's more than two. It's not just Devin. Devin just needs Jody on as a cornerman, and he's all good. But there are some athletes who wants more than two. Not necessarily speaking that they want it out of any malicious thing, but they have their spouse out there, their coach out there, their manager up there. That's only three. Let's see. Yeah, so perhaps maybe with our collaboration with you know, if we get to collaborate with some of these influencers, they could help open doors for us, right? So maybe S- Seb can help open doors with what do you call it? With Red Bull. That'll be a pretty good one. So that there is correct. So now, uh, for us, right? We have to be, Robert and I, we are aware that EVW cannot own an arm, like a betting company, right? But what we can do is we can get. So what Signal Company does, if anybody doesn't know, they are the ones that actually get all the data, set the odds, and then sells the odds to all the the betting companies out there. So like, say I don't know, DraftKings and all the gambling companies out there. They don't create their own odds. They literally just buy that license to obtain the odds from signal companies and then publish them on their site. Okay, that's kind of like the simplified version of explanation, right? So if the signal company has it, then all the betting companies has it. What that does for us, at least I believe in, okay, people aren't only going to, and in my thinking, people aren't only going to, if they log in to go bet on the main event, right? Let's go back and see, say, Colorado, and they bet Alex versus Devin. They're not just going to put money on Alex versus Devin while they're on the site. They'll be looking trends like, oh, wow, there's this match and that match and this match and that. And I'm just going to put like $10 on all the other matches just for the heck of it. But for the matches that I care about, maybe I'll put 100. Psychologically, when you have a little bit more skin in the game, they'll naturally tune in and be a lot more invested in the outcome. Right? Nobody's gonna put $10 on a match and like I don't care who wins and walk away. Trust me, they'll be watching that match very intently. Right? That's how I believe it's one way to get everyone excited. Right? Everyone excited over all the matches instead of just certain superstar athletes. it's not really for us. Well, it is for EVW as well. So another way it helps EVW is now people are more interested in watching the pay-per-view live versus waiting a week or so for the, you know, to watch it. Or I guess they could just, listen on and listen on somebody's stream to see get the winner, but still not quite there. They'll If they're putting a little bit of money in there, very likely they'll be watching the match live. That's how it will help us. But we we are not, EVW is not owning a gambling company. Gotham Arm Wrestling. Dexter, tier levels of pay-per-views. $10, you get half the matches. $20, you get all of them. I don't know how that worked. I gotta think about that for a second. Not quite. Uh, Lethargica Stenga asks, "What is your view of tournaments versus super match at the highest level of competition?" I think they're very different. I think they're very, very different. The way that super matches are built is that there's strategy, a lot more strategies involved because they usually comprise of more than one round. And what that is it allows athletes to think differently and strategize differently and also compete differently in a form of, do I want to hold on a little bit longer, or do I want to uh or just let go because I can come back later, right? Because I have two more, I can lose another two more rounds, so I don't want to push myself too crazy. Tournaments are like an endurance type game where you be competing potentially so many rounds, and you don't want to get, you know you try too hard in one round, and then you just lose the rest of your matches, even in the lower bracket. I think they're a little bit different, you know because a lot of like the tournaments are a one and done thing as well. So that's why I think there is a possibility. I'm still thinking about it, on how we can structure it in a way where King of the Table is more tournament style and super matches are East versus West. Fitness influencers. I do see there's quite a number of fitness influencers out there, and some of them are massive, very massive. But I'm also thinking that, well, uh, how many of them would be willing to be embarrassed to a certain degree, right? To a certain degree. I mean, they'll come and they'll, if it's like a short little collaboration just to pull, that's fine. But to pull at a main event, unless they've been doing some decent training, right? Like the strongman did, they have zero chance in competing with any of the arm wrestlers. You see what I'm saying? So it's usually going to be influencers versus influencer. Let's see. Oh yeah, the one that I think Dave was talking about is Game of Arms. That's what it was. That he had to win both arms to win, and he could only win one arm. Let's see. So somebody asks, get pay-per-view sales way up, people will pay for ads in stream. I actually have thought about that, where there is actually a function, even currently in our system, where it allows us to click a button and show like a mid-roll ad, you know. So just like Super Bowl, right? We can have just an ad for our non-sponsors. I thought about that, but looking at the revenue and everything, it wasn't worth it for us to have that. And our events are long enough that I need to do a poll at some point to think how long, like the appropriate you know length be for our pay-per-views before it gets too long. It's 4 hours too long. Some people like it, some people don't. So I'm trying to, you're still getting more feedback and more data to figure those out. And by putting those mid-roll ads, is just gonna extend the duration up as well, right? Let's see. Ice hot. Okay, I'm seeing that somebody's talking about ice hot. Uh, let's see. Okay, I need to read this. This is really long. Iron Arm says, Dexter, I believe an elbow to fingertip measurement is an important measurement to be added. Also, considering measurements are consistently wrong, maybe do live weigh-in with measurements would help. Let's okay. I think elbow to fingertip, elbow to fingertip measurements. Yeah, for sure. I know doing stat screens, we do occasionally have some errors here and there. Um, that's something I'm actively trying to ensure that doesn't happen. Um, hmm. Because what happens is, so the procedure for all the graphics starts out in house, right? We have all the graphics made, how the scoreboards would look like and whatnot. Okay, so those graphics would then be passed on to the I think they call it the vmix, the vmix team. So the vmix team will now embed it and program it. So they'll start programming it by, say, if I push this button, it will appear, the score will change to 1, and it press it, score changes to. So there's a whole bunch of buttons, right? And sometimes those two teams still don't have the full numbers, right? Even our graphics teams may have most of the numbers, but some of the numbers needs to be updated and in person when the athlete shows up. And so the graphics team may have place a placeholder, and that placeholder may be kept on until the main event without it ever being updated, because nobody knew that that was just a placeholder number, right? So that's when issues occur. So this time I'm going to have those numbers repeated to all the athletes to make sure that they are responsible to confirm their own measurements prior to it going live. So there's that. Um, Live weight in the UFC. I think one big thing is that our press conference, I'm trying to shrink down a press conference so it's not too long. And but anyway, that's besides the point, because it won't be during the press conference. It will be a separate event. I mean, we released our weigh-in videos for Colorado a couple days ago. But honestly, like, say, Colorado, I'm trying to think, maybe we only had 1 or 2 matches that needed weigh-ins. Everybody else was just a fun little weigh-in, right? Because if you think about it, the supers don't need to technically get weighed in. So I'm I'm gonna think about this a little bit. If not do a live weigh-in. The only thing is, I want to make it looking professional, right? Um, so I don't want to feel like I just took up my cell phone and just went live with my cell phone. Just, oh, what's your weight, and go back and down. I want, if anything like that, I'll consider that. I'll actually consider live weigh-ins, because Switzerland is going to be very relevant. We will have a lot. We will have a lot of non-super heavyweights competing. Live weigh-ins. I love this. Keep it going. Keep it going. 8-man tournament would be good for a pay-per-view. The one thing, okay, Wonder Bucket, okay, I know that seems like a good idea. What I've also realized that right now our event is dominated in terms of views, is we're dominated by having mostly super heavyweights gets the most attention right now. Not gonna lie, but I think most events, the supers are getting the most attention. So if it's anything but the super heavyweight tournament, it might not be quite as viewed upon. Okay. So there's that. But not to say that shouldn't happen. That shouldn't happen. We actually had I attended one event called, I think it was called the Underground. I think that's the one where Wallace Dilly won. Marcio Barbosa, was it Marcio Barbosa in the finals? And it was a tournament, and that was fun. That was super fun. So was it? I've been attending so many things, I'm kind of losing my mind. But yeah, so I think tournaments has its place for a pay per view as well. Not good. Yeah. Round robin, that's another good one. Oh, Rob Gronkowski do a collab. Isn't it? I played fantasy football one year, and Rob was, I can't remember. This like 6-7 years ago. Was he my quarterback? Green Bay. Is it Green Bay Packers? No, I can remember now. I don't know. But yeah, collab. We will at some point. We'll have an NFL. We would have NFL guys. Not sure if they're too expensive to have made to just. Okay, yeah. So somebody's talking about trading cards angle. That is the one of the announcements I did with in Dave Chafee's podcast with, right, because Amber Chafee, which is Dave's wife, is a, she does a lot of pack ripping in front of cameras. So what I've been actually working on is that instead we have set autograph cards. Technically, they're not trading cards. Trading cards infer that you would want to trade cards for them, but in the past, it was always a set of complete athlete autograph cards for the event. That's changing. We are working on a trading card angle, right? So it would be similar as the traditional basketball, baseball, just sports cards, where you open a pack and you have a chance to win, well, not win, or open a card that's been autographed by an athlete or not, right? And then there are different types of holographic cards, regular cards. So almost like a common, uncommon, rare, you know, ultra rare kind of level of things. So it's kind of a chase card, right? If you open two of, I don't know, two Devon autograph cards, so you might want to trade one Devon card for a Levon autograph card, so you can have the complete set. Those kind of things that would happen. So encourage people within the community to kind of trade around and meet new people potentially. So there's that. So somebody just mentioned 3 to 4 hours. Okay, that's good. Hand size is a good measurement. You know what? I've been hearing a little bit more about that hand size, because I do agree more and more so. I think I mentioned a while back that one of the things I enjoyed, polling in Asia, is that they generally have a little bit of smaller hand size than the Europe, well, like North Americans and whatnot. So it feels more natural that I can actually grip all the way around. Uh, you know, uh, so hand size actually does matter. Hand size measurement. Hand size measurement. Like that. 3D line. Measurements of hands with a tape measure provide zero usable data. It's not usable data. It's I disagree. I think people could come up with their own methodology to determine whether or not hand size matters or not. 3D, and this is all just numbers that would be to be, I assuming, to be displayed on the live stream page. But sometimes if it's too much data, then it might be overwhelming, uh, in that level. Putting your hand in a jug full of water and measure how much overflows. Eureka effect. Yes, that's right. Let's see. Oh, dang, we're already at an hour and a half. I probably should wind it down a little bit. Let me speed for you. I'm almost caught up. Almost caught up. Let's see. There's a lot of information. Here again, Mr. Peanut says volume of hand would not provide usable data for hand thickness, variable or finger structure, wrist construction. Mr. Peanut sounds like a big time science guy. So, I mean, email me if you have a great solution and on what usable data means. I think you should partner with a company like Hooters and bring arm wrestling back to the bars. Super matches would still be the pay per view bread and butter. Uh, is there a bar? Again, because of because of Robert and I, we don't drink, so we don't really go to bars. Is there a like a Starbucks of bars that, that I should know of? I'm trying to think. Is there a bar chain in America? If there is, let me know because I might want to see if we can do something, right? Maybe, maybe I can go as far as doing a promotion where for one time the bars would be able to purchase or maybe just give them free EVW pay-per-view just one time to see how much sales they drum up. And at the same time, they could come back and uh, have a long-term partnership with us. So there's that. But yeah, somebody did mention, yeah, Hooters is, I think they're out of business. So yeah, no, not arm wrestling at Starbucks. That's not. I'm just thinking like a chain bar. So let me see if I go through everything that I want to go through. Oh yeah, so couple announcements. Rules are in Georgian language. Okay, rules are in Georgian language, and VIP page is up, and rankings will be worked on for the next week. So before I end, I would like just to remind everybody: post a match that you would like to see at EVW main event, and I'll take those back and collect those back and bring it back to the matchmaking group, and we'll talk about it. So until then, I'll see you next Sunday. Come with questions, come with ideas, come with suggestions, and I would love to hear all those. So till then, we'll see you next week.